Cultivating Calmness Podcast. Thank you for joining me today. It is just one day to Halloween tomorrow, so happy Halloween to anybody celebrating Halloween. I know we are getting our kids out and going trick-or-treating tomorrow, and they are looking very forward to it, even though, as you probably know, if you've been following me and listening to me for a while, they don't really get to eat a lot of the candy that they get. But we can talk about that a little bit later. It's just a fun experience for them to participate in. But really what I wanted to talk about today was Election Day. Why? Well, it is in 6 days from today, next Tuesday. Some of you may have already voted, whether that was in person or by mail. Some of you are waiting to vote the day of, and some of you maybe have decided you don't want to vote at all. All of those things are okay. And just want to talk a little bit about what we can maybe expect and how to really cope with what's going on, because we all know that all of you out there, myself included, have varying degrees of beliefs in the political realm, what's going to be best for us, best for our country, best for society, best for the world. And we may or may not agree with our significant others, our friends, our community, and how, do you think you can cope with that next week when the results come in? Because we know that it is a pretty divisive time of year, or every 4 years it can be pretty divisive. And we know that the ads are out and there's lots of, social media talking and what they call it, keyboard warriors out there who want to get their point across. But let me ask you, how many of you are likely to change your mind based on some keyboard warrior, maybe they're a friend of yours, saying something to a post or a comment on your social media platforms that you're involved in? Was that zero? Yeah, none of us are probably going to change our minds based on something that we are reading about politics at this point. Maybe that was the case months and years ago, and you could still change your mind. But the fact of the matter is, if you are voting here in this upcoming election, you have probably, your choice is already solid in mind. For those of you who are still undecided, there are lots of resources out there for you to decide. It's probably not going to be your very passionate friends on either side of the aisle. So really, I know what life was like. I know what the experience was the last two elections. I know who I voted for. I'm not here to tell you who I voted for and who you should vote for. But I do know that I expect people to be unhappy. Either way, whatever way it goes, people are going to be unhappy. And I have the potential to be included in that. And my friends do, my colleagues, my family, lots of people have the potential to not like the outcome of the election, whatever it is. And we're not going to get into, whether things are like corrupt or not, or whether things were done right or wrong, or anything like that. Whatever the results are, we're likely to know them or have a pretty good idea of what they are by Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning. It is possible, as has happened in the past, where counting and things need to happen to figure that out. We're not talking about that, okay? I just want to talk about what can you do? What can you do if things don't go as planned? If things don't come out the way you'd like? Again, no matter what happens in the days and weeks after, because you still have to be able to cope. You still have to be able to go on with life. You still have to go to work, raise your kids if you have any, have face-to-face or whatever type of conversations with your peers and your colleagues, some of which may agree with you, some of which who may not agree with you. And how do you go about doing that if you're feeling distressed about a certain outcome? I know it's not really a super easy thing to do, but it will make your life easier if you are able to find ways of coping. So we all have our coping strategies. There are positive coping skills, negative coping skills. I know I've talked about some of those here, drowning yourself in like addictive substances, whether that's alcohol, drugs, sugar, snacks, food, video games, or fill in the blank, is probably not the best route for you. Is it okay to have a little bit, maybe some of those things? And I'm not gonna get into which ones. Sure. Just like when I talk to my clients about when they want to say like, well, video games is a good coping strategy. I say that depends, right? If you play video games to get your mind off of something, to kind of de-escalate and calm down, and you can do that for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you can get off and you can, get back into whatever it was, and you can, function again, great. But if you are playing for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end, that is no longer a helpful coping strategy. That is something you're using to avoid, potentially, or potentially something you're addicted to and you're having difficulty pulling away from that strategy, let's say. So being able to take control of your emotions, being able to address like why you're feeling the way you feel and what you can do about it. And ultimately, we have, you as an individual, myself, there's only a certain amount of control that I have over the outcome. I control my vote, and that's it. I can talk to people about why I feel the way I feel and try to convince other people, but ultimately they still have that choice. It's a boundary. When I talk to my clients about setting boundaries, the boundary isn't about making somebody else do something you want them to do, i.e. voting. I can't make you vote the way I want you to vote. But I can tell you how I feel about it. I can express my opinion and why I'm passionate about something. And you can take that information and make a decision based on that. I may not like that decision, but then it is up to me to set a boundary with you if that leads to something else, right? So if I am sober and I don't want to drink and I don't want to be around somebody who drinks, and you are not sober and you do drink and you do enjoy drinking, and I say, hey, don't drink around me, I can't really make you not drink, right? You can ultimately decide if you are or are not going to drink around me. But I can say, hey, you can go ahead and drink if you want, but you're not welcome in my house if you have been drinking or if you're going to drink. I can do that. It's my house. So I can not let you in. Or if I smell alcohol on your breath, I can say, hey, I don't allow drinking and any intoxication in my house. So you're going to have to leave until you're sober. And we can definitely hang out then, right? That is my boundary, and I have control over that part of my life. So when you put that into a voting realm, and you think about how other people are voting, what is it that you can control in these situations? Can you control the way you are behaving? Or can you control the way you want to protest or accept? Can you control, how your day is going to go because of the results, whether, again, you like them or you don't like them? It's kind of like that, food coloring in water versus food coloring in oil kind of scenario. Yes, I know that when you vote for someone, the policies and things that are going to happen down the road may or may not play a big role in your life, but that's not what we're talking about, right? If you're feeling ultimately extremely distressed about this, we want to narrow that focus into something that is more contained, something that is within your grasp, within your reach right here in this moment. And maybe that's minute to minute, maybe that's hour to hour, or maybe, you can expand that to by the day or every couple days or the week, right? It's hard to say what's going to happen. It's hard to say exactly how you're going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to feel because I don't know what the results are going to be. I know what I hope the results are going to be, and I am trying to mentally prepare myself for that time and for the possibility that it's not going to go the way that I would like it to go, and how I'm going to handle when other people may be talking about how it went the way they wanted it to go, and whether that's something I'm going to have to kind of compartmentalize, whether it's something I'm going to have to, as a therapist, I'm going to face people that either agree or disagree with me. And sometimes that can be hard, but that happens on a regular basis. And therapy, at least in my experience, people don't always agree with some of my personal perspectives, but I often have a lot of personal perspectives that are different than my therapeutic world and the things that I talk about in therapy. So for me, I don't feel like it's terribly difficult, but for you, it might be difficult to separate the two. How do I go to work when everybody around me at work maybe feels one way and I feel another, or some of the people at work are aligned with me. So maybe I realize I can connect with those people and we can commiserate or we can celebrate together. And that way, I'm not affecting the other people and I'm not around those other people if I can avoid it. There's probably going to be many unavoidable circumstances. And you have to decide, is that an opinion that I'm going to keep to myself? Is that an opinion I'm going to share? Do I need to maybe take the day off the next day ahead of time, right? I know it's Wednesday, so we're already, if you are allowed to request off, maybe you don't have the time to do that right now. But this may be something to consider at this point. Do I take that day off to allow myself time and space to not be around people, to get myself in a good place, so that when I go back to work, I am not in a place where I am really distressed, where I've gotten myself together, and whatever that means for you, whatever you need to do. If that's getting off of social media and away from the news so you don't have to see it, hear it, be around it, great. That's a coping strategy, right? That may be something that you need to do to help you, okay? If it's getting involved in a protest, right? You can do that. That is a choice you can make. If you think that that is going to help you, then that is something that can help you. If it's talking with your friends, if it's getting together, I've heard of people, scheduling, meals together that day to go either celebrate, commiserate, like the day of, not even the day after, but just the day of, with like-minded friends. Maybe that's something you can do. So whether, no matter what the outcome is, you have some like-minded friends that align with you and that, are, you're going to be there to support you no matter what, because they are on the same page as you. Again, a lot of people may be planning protests as a just in case, because again, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And if that's the way you feel and that's what you want to do, that is something that is up to you. Keep in mind, obviously there are lots of different ways people protest. We have seen that over the last 4 or 5 years, the kind of spectrum of protests, what those look like, what can happen. Again, thinking about what you can control versus those outside factors and things that you cannot control. What other people are going to do at a protest versus what you are going to do and what role you are going to take in anything that you decide to do. So, ultimately I'm here to just say, focus on you. Focus on the things that are within your control. You can't change the outcome of the election, you by yourself. But if you feel like you can get involved in something that can have a greater effect, that is a choice that you have to make. But it's when we allow our emotions to kind of take over control and cause us to react maybe in a more negative way, it can get in the way of our ability to function each day. And obviously, that is not a good thing. You want to be able to function and hold your beliefs and, be able to, be upset or be happy about something. If I'm feeling good about the election results, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to brag about it to people who feel the opposite, right? That's not going to help them. It's also, could cause strife between me and those people that I probably care about. So another factor to consider is just acting out of love, acting out of love for yourself, but also for your fellow human beings. And that's that understanding that we all have different perspectives, wants, needs, likes, and dislikes. And when, you put your own, yourself above those of everybody else, are you really loving your neighbor? Love your neighbor as you would love yourself. It's kind of that idea. It's putting others first, even though you disagree. Like, you can disagree with somebody and still have love for them and care about them. We can love somebody and not like their choices and not like the things they do. I know there are lots of people like that in my life. I love them. I care about them. I want what's best for them. And sometimes that's why we share our perspective. That's why we share information, because we want you to know what we know. We want you to think the way we think. But I can't make them do that. So sometimes you have to accept where somebody is at. Again, politics, religion, health, education, etc., on any topic. If you put your love for them first, does that help you in being able to kind of reconcile the different perspectives that you may hold on a certain topic? So I just, something for you to think about. I hope you can hear that and take that with a grain of salt. Consider that as you go into this next week and all of the stuff that's going to be coming up. Again, good or bad, happy or sad, we're all going to experience something, and we're all probably going to butt heads with people. And can we love them anyway, whether we disagree or agree with them? So thank you for joining me this week. Happy Halloween. I hope you enjoy your Halloween. And I do. I hope you enjoy the election if you are somebody who votes and somebody who takes part in this, and you can have a good outcome for you, no matter what the actual election outcomes are. I'll see you next week.